I'm very concerned with that, and I do not support it. And the reason I don't support it is because you cannot deal with fundamental changes in one sense and not deal with structural changes in the other. And that type of power in a system overall that has inequalities and structural problems can inure to the detriment of a certain element of society, which we've oftentimes punished. So the face of crime in Belize, not that we don't have a serious crime situation and we need policing and so forth, but those kinds of fundamental changes to our constitution and our democratic tradition must be done within the context of other structural changes that rebalances the negative harm. So when you're talking about those kinds of serious powers, it's actually dangerous. I mean, when we talk about legal aid in Belize, when we talk about other kinds of things, it's not, our system is fair, but it's easy to go in the system and get caught up in the system. And you need to contextualize those powers with other powers. How can we prevent the fact that this tremendous change will not be abused by police officers, will not be abused by the system? And I am not satisfied that that is the case, and so I won't deal with that. You won't deal with it unless that is part of a slew of reform. And this is one of the things that you had asked. We need to deal with changes, not in a piecemeal way, but we have talked about constitutional reform. We went through a huge process. Incorporate some of those other changes along with this. Don't just do that, because that will just negatively impact poor people within our society, and it will negatively impact certain ethnic minorities and demographics within our society. What I would do is, there are other ways, I wouldn't tweak the Constitution in that way. We need to promote greater rights, not less rights. What I would do is that I would have dealt with empowering, and there are practical ways how you can empower policing with the police officers, with the community and so forth. And then we need to deal with, which we have never talked about in this society, we need to deal with more social rights. How do you deal with ensuring that people have education? How do you deal with ensuring that people have land rights? How do you deal with there's an adequate employment and so forth? So if we have those kinds of conversations with promoting a floor of social and economic rights as opposed to strictly political rights, then we can say, okay, then you did not live up to the benchmark. Now we can punish you in this way. What we have done is that we have kept a Belize that is very elitist and very good for certain people, that promotes a great degree of social inequalities. And when people in the lower echelons of society act out, then we punish them and we put them in jail. A marker of success in our criminal justice system is not how much prosecutions we successfully meet. That is not a marker of success. It is how we promote a quality of life that allows people to be anything that they want to be. So that if you say you want to be prime minister, you can be prime minister. If you say you want to be a nurse, you want to be a doctor, we don't have that in society. And so we can't deal with things that will only be band-aids when we have serious structural problems. And I'll give you an example. We're dealing with this, which is more than likely is only going to deal with certain types of crimes. What about corruption? What about the other serious kinds of crimes that we just look around and we ignore? Yeah. So we're just doing that, but we're not looking at ourselves, and we're not being internal in terms of our systems, and that promotes injustice.